Yo, Shazam 2's out in theaters, so this is my ranking of all the DCEU movies now that Shazam 2 is out. At number 13, my least favorite DCEU movie is Aquaman. Aquaman's the only movie I fell asleep during, and when I woke up, Jason Momoa and Amber Heard were kissing in front of an explosion that was happening underwater, and there were a bunch of crabs and fish people fighting each other, giant crabs. And it was the worst, stupidest shit I'd ever seen, and I was so glad that I wasn't awake during it. I just did not like that movie, and I honestly don't think James Wan's a great director. I mean, I love horror, but I think there's so much better horror coming out, and James Wan movies get the most attention for horror movies because they had the financial backing, but I honestly think his movies are loaded with jump scares and are just made to appeal to mass audiences. Number 12 on my list is Wonder Woman 1984. This was the first movie I saw during COVID when movie theaters opened back up briefly. I saw Wonder Woman 1984. I don't remember much of it except that it was so convoluted and stupid, and there was some wishing plot about wishing people back to life, and it was just like a very bizarre movie, and I remember hating the first 20 minutes and the rest of the movie. Number 11 on my list is Shazam 2, Shazam Fury of the Gods. I didn't see this movie, and I'm not gonna see this movie. I don't think that I could watch this movie, but I think if I were to see this movie, this is around the spot that it would land on my list. I saw the trailer, and it looked pretty bad. Number 10 on my list is Justice League. This is the original Zack Snyder / Joss Whedon Justice League. I didn't see the Zack Snyder's HBO Justice League that they refilmed and re-edited because I heard it's like 5 hours long, and I don't think I could physically do that. And also, the movie already came out in theaters. Zack Snyder made I don't know what it is, like a fan edit of his own movie. The original Justice League that came out in theaters was a very awful movie, and just practically everything about it. The only reason it's like higher up on the list at number 10 is because it's terrible, but it's like entertainingly terrible. Number 9 on my list is Birds of Prey. I don't remember anything about this movie except that I absolutely hated the third act with like the ninjas. And the only reason it's this high up on the list is because Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn is pretty hot, and she's entertaining as the character. Number 8 on my list is the 2016 Suicide Squad. This is maybe the technically worst movie on the list. This movie is absolutely horrible. And the Joker, Jared Leto's Joker, is one of the worst film characters of all time, I think, and such a horrible iteration of the character. I still hate the tattoos. I still don't understand why it says damaged on his forehead and why he has Joker, like, fan tattoos all over his body. Like, imagine the amount of fucking sessions he had to sit through and hours he had to sit through to cover his back in ha 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 ha. And then him going into a tattoo shop saying, I want to get a J on my cheek and I want to get damaged on my forehead. I don't understand what the thought process was in that and what the thought process was for most of this movie. A lot of it is just absolutely horrible, but Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn is so good looking in the movie, and that's why it's number 8 for me. Number 7's Man of Steel. I don't like this movie. It's fucking bleak and boring to look at, and the tornado scene makes no sense. It's a fucking tornado. Superman could use his powers in the fucking tornado. Not everybody is staring at that random guy on the street thinking, is he gonna use his superpowers in this tornado? They don't know what the fuck. If he went and fucking flew in the sky, picked up a dog, picked up a car, threw it, no one's gonna notice. And if they do, who cares? They're not gonna, it's not gonna affect your life. So number 7's Man of Steel, and the entire third act is just like destruction porn. Number 6 on my list is Black Adam. This movie is awful. It's a very bad movie, but it has like this cheesy vibe to it that makes it entertaining, and Dwayne The Rock Johnson just looks like kind of ridiculous in a superhero costume, but also looks like he was meant to be in a superhero costume. It's just a very weird movie that exists, and everything about it is just strange, and so that's why it's number 6 on the list. Number 5 on my list is the first Shazam. I remember liking that movie more than I disliked it. I disliked the fucking Shazam dude, the older dude, Zachary Levi, but I like the kid storyline. But they felt like two totally different people to me, and the overall movie just felt like it was kind of like meaningless. Number 4 on my list is Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice. First of all, that is one of the worst titles of any movie ever. Why not just call it Batman vs Superman instead of Batman v Superman? And if the first title in there is Batman vs Superman, how is the subtitle Dawn of Justice? In one title you're saying they're versing each other, and in the other subtitle you're saying that they're coming together and forming the Justice League. That's such a stupid title, and that's essentially the plot of the movie. And this movie overall is like pretty terrible. And even just thinking about it, it's like shocking that this movie was this bad when it's fucking Batman vs Superman. But there's about 45 solid, awesome minutes in there where Ben Affleck is Batman, and I honestly think Ben Affleck was a phenomenal Batman. I wish he got to do a solo Batman movie. I don't know why they started out with Batman vs Superman instead of doing a solo Batman movie. And I loved fucking Jeremy Irons, was it, as Alfred. I loved everything going on there. Just the Batman vs Superman storyline was bad, and the Dawn of Justice storyline was horrendous. Number 3 on my list is the first Wonder Woman. I think the first Wonder Woman is the first good movie that I've talked about. I think the third act, the movie completely falls apart when like that Ares dude or whatever is like the blame for all man being evil. I think that's a very stupid lesson to teach people. And just the third act becomes a comic book movie with the giant CGI explosions. And I think they really threw away a potential that they could have had there. But overall, I really liked the movie and I thought Gal Gadot was great. Number 2 on my list is Peacemaker Season 1. Or it might be the only season we get a Peacemaker. I, for the most part, really enjoyed Peacemaker, and there were some episodes and some moments in the show that I absolutely loved, that I thought was just so hilarious. And John Cena, as someone who grew up watching John Cena in WWE and in that like Attitude Era and then early 2000s era, to see John Cena in movies now and they're like kind of ridiculous roles he's playing, I honestly think it's awesome. I love seeing John Cena and fucking Batista. And I used to love seeing The Rock, now he's a giant star. But I like these wrestlers who are trying to become actors, the ones that I used to watch in the early 2000s, succeeding like Batista and John Cena. Number 1 on my list is another James Gunn film, The Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad is the best DCEU movie that's ever been made. And it's the only DCEU movie that I actually really liked. And I love that it's a giant fucking starfish that they fight. And in that line where he's like, I was just a starfish floating in the sky, or whatever the fuck he says, in space. Like, you actually kind of feel for the starfish. And the opening of the Suicide Squad is awesome, where they storm the beach. And I really liked every character in this, and it introduced us to Peacemaker. Margot Robbie, who's like one of the highlights of the entire DCEU, was great in this movie. And Rick Flag was awesome. And I like Polka Dot Man. And I loved all these characters, and The Suicide Squad by James Gunn was the best movie in the DCEU, and Peacemaker, The Suicide Squad, and Wonder Woman I think are the only really good properties and like films or shows that have come out of the DCEU. So overall, that's my ranking of DCEU. At 13, Aquaman, 12, Wonder Woman 1984, 11, Shazam 2, 10, The Justice League, 9, Birds of Prey, 8, Suicide Squad, 7, Man of Steel, 6, Black Adam, 5, Shazam, 4, Batman vs Superman, 3, Wonder Woman, 2, Peacemaker, 1, Suicide Squad. Okay, so while I was editing the video, one thing I wanted to add is, while I didn't like the majority of the DCEU movies, there was things that I loved in them, and I think the best part of the DCEU was the casting. I thought pretty much everyone they cast for the Justice League, aside from Ezra Miller probably as the Flash, especially the main trio, Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, and Gal Gadot, I thought were great in their roles. I just wish they were in better movies. Thanks for watching. Check out my Etsy, etsy.com/shop/evilbrimstick. Peace out.